What's up, guys and gals? And this video has been in the works for such a long time, and you guys, from already clicking the title, you know what it's about. It's my top 5, my Mount Rushmore +1 manga of all time, my personal favorites. At this point, I have read over 300 different manga, between one-shots and full 1,000-chapter long series. I've read over 300 manga, and it was a difficult time. That's why this video has taken so long. It's been so hard to narrow down that pool, right? When you've been in a fan of any media form, of any industry for a long time, you know, and the more you branch out, there's so many great things. You know, whether you're a gamer, whether you're a big movie critic or something like that, manga is no different. So it took me a painstaking amount of time to finally figure out what was going to be my top 5, officially, my official top 5. Now, that being said, before we get underway with the list, 2 things. There will be one honorable mention at the very beginning, and 2 is that though these are going to be listed in a numerical order from 5 to 1, you know, with the honorable mention starting us off, these could easily change place. Alright, like, let's just not say that this is definitively my number 1. You know, number 2 could easily, you know, depending on the day of the week. As I said, this video has been in the planning stages for a very long time. In fact, I'm still working on the longer version of this, which is my official top 30 manga of all time. It was originally top 20. I realized I couldn't narrow it down that far, yada yada yada. But based on all the stuff I did for that video that's in the works, I've already sorted out my top 5 at this point. So without further ado, let's just get underway. This will be my top 5, starting us off with the honorable mention. Now, my honorable mention is coming from the great mind of Kishimoto, creator of the giant, the greatest of the big 3, Naruto. And you guys would think, immediately that my honorable mention would have to be the best of the big 3, Naruto itself. And no, not quite. And it's not its sequel series, Boruto, either, which, once again, probably stands right up there with Naruto as one of the best running series, period. No, this is a tragedy of woe. A tale of woe, if you will. It is still a tragedy. He made another series in between sort of the years when Naruto finally was finished and before Boruto really found its sea legs, if you will. He's had this other series. And at first glance, I was very harsh on the series. I reviewed it on this very channel when it first dropped. He dropped 3 chapters, over 80 pages of Samurai 8. And I've just got to say one thing about that, because this is the honorable mention and we have to move on to the actual top 5. I just want to say that Samurai 8 was clearly the best written and the better storytelling perspective of Kishimoto's work. It is his magnum opus and no one else could see it. Naruto, even if you want to say that Naruto is an 8 out of 10, a 9 out of 10, Samurai 8 is just on a whole nother scale. You can't even say 10 out of 10, 11 out of 10, because that scale's too small for Samurai 8. I judged it too harshly back in the day, and I apologize for that now, because now I realize, after reading Naruto, Boruto, and Samurai 8, I understand now that Samurai 8 was actually one of the best mangas, premise, format, and storytelling. It just got cut short. You know, too many ignorant people like myself called it out for really just nitpicks at the end of the day. But it was a phenomenal series, and we got robbed of only about 40 chapters strong of that fantastic series. And I just wish it had hit that same triple digit that Naruto did. So my number 5 pick, to no one's great surprise, is Chainsaw Man. Now, admittedly, it took me personally a long time to get into this series. And I'm still trying to fathom as to why, because I'm a simp for boobs too. I mean, I'm more of an ass man myself, but I get it. I mean, once again, the anime manga community can tell you, we can take a poll, and it will obviously tell you that the most long-running and favorite trope and archetype throughout manga history is the pervert trope. Obviously. It is just so well beloved. Everyone loves Sanji's gags, Master Roshi, Mineta, all these characters, right? The pervert is the funniest. He's got the most depth. They're always the best written characters, right? And we love them for it. It's always the funniest gags. It's never, out of place. It never seems like too much. It's always our favorite thing. So I get it. I 100% stand behind that at this point. But what series? Because remember, Sanji, Master Roshi, the characters I'm listing off are, you could argue, part of the main cast. But they aren't the main character. So what series was bold enough, I tell you, and courageous enough to say, we're going to take everyone's favorite trope, the pervert, and we're going to give that our main character? I mean, once again, round of applause. It worked out so well in Seven Deadly Sins, right? Everyone loves Meliodas for it. So, Chainsaw Man, once again, stepping out of that box, going this way, and saying, you know what? Pirate King, Hokage, saving the world. Nah. Those are nice goals. But I like realism. And Denji is the most realistic guy because he's saving the world from demons, hell lords, and everything else just for a chance at those tatas. Respect. For number 4, and I wish I could place this higher, and it is a close tie with my number 3 on the list, it's Demon Slayer. Let's be realistic here. Demon Slayer is arguably one of, if not the best story, most unique and original story I think I have ever read. And once again, I have read over 300 manga alone, not even talking about TV shows, movies, and everything else. But the 2 complaints I've heard the most about Demon Slayer, about this totally original story, is that it's generic and it's carried by its animation. Well, I don't understand these complaints. I just don't, because realistically, generic? What are you talking about? A world where swordsmen in an Edo-type period get individual sword styles and powers to fight demonic-type creatures that used to be human? I mean, I don't think I've read anything like that. Or a main villain who is based off of and or a parody of a famous singer. I mean, that certainly hasn't happened before. So these complaints, I can't take them seriously. And alongside of that, the carried by animation argument, I mean, so are you jealous? I mean, we are the anime community, people. We never judge a great plot line and well-written story and pacing based solely off of animation. We would never do that as a community. We would always look past it, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and we could see the fantastic other elements that go into it, right? Now, like with the previous entry, my number 3, I wish it could be higher. I wish all these could be my number 1, but this one, we gotta go with the One Punch Man. I mean, obviously, I know I've dropped it in the past. We all know this, but I've been too harsh on One Punch Man. All the redraws, the redos, and the rewritings constantly, it's just to make a better product. And I'm sure that other mangaka always get that opportunity to do so, whether necessary or not, right? They should all get the chance to have hiatus and be able to take their time to draw chapters, bring out new chapters, and then when they're not happy with something that's perfectly fine, even if we don't see the reason, there must be a reason why they redraw that fight, why they redo that scene, why they completely change the direction of the arc. I mean, if I had the chance to do that, I'm sure that I would take up that offer. So it makes, we have to blame the industry, not One Punch Man. No, we cannot blame that anymore. Alongside of the idea that it's just a parody manga. I mean, listen, I've read a lot of manga in my day, I've watched a lot of anime, and I can just say, look, how do you not take this series absolutely seriously? It is obviously not a parody of any type of shonen archetype manga. It is 100%, there are no gags, it's not funny. I mean, just look at King. He is the epitome of the coolest character, the most badass, with no flaws whatsoever. He is just that guy. And I mean, as I said, I wish it could be higher. It's one of the best mangas I have ever read. Or will read when the redraws come out, right? Now for my number 2, one step away from what I consider the greatest manga of all time, we have to give it to Tokyo Ghoul. Re. Alright, so enough raving about the greatness that is Tokyo Ghoul Re. Let's move on to our number 1 choice. And so many people put Dragon Ball as the king, the one who sits on the throne, the godfather of shonen manga. And I'm not gonna say that Dragon Ball is, at best, but we all know who the real king is. The king, the duke, the czar, the whole bit, the pharaoh of everything. And you might think it's Yu-Gi-Oh, but no. Since I said pharaoh, it's obviously the one, the only, Hunter X Hunter. It's the one. It always has been. Since its inception, it was the greatest manga of all time. Like, I don't even think that's debatable at this point, right? Like, let's just go down the list of things that it just does so much better. When I read a shonen, and they give me some lame ice powers or a pizza laser or whatever and stuff, I mean, I get it and I understand it, but I'm an intellectual. Because shonen is meant for, people with PhDs to read, right? So, I mean, this is just too simplistic for me. I'm not saying it's bad that we get, flame swords and super speed and all these, sort of comic book level powers. But I was looking for something to really grit my teeth into. Now, when I got into Hunter x Hunter, reading 88 pages explaining one guy's Nen ability, some assembly required, I mean, that's what I'm talking about, right? I don't need visuals when I can have a whole wall of text. That's what I need. I read manga not to see characters and look at silly drawings. I read manga to do just that. To read. I don't need to see shit. I'm just there to read it, right? So, infinitely the best power system in manga history. The Nen system. It's not overly complicated. You're just too stupid to understand it. You're not an intellectual enough, Just like people when they say they don't get Rick and Morty, it means you're dumb. So, same idea, right? Same premise, done many years before. The Nen system is not overly complicated. It's easily understandable by people under the age of, I don't know. Take your age group. A 5-year-old can understand this clearly, I mean, they get Pokemon. Why can't they get this? It's so easy. And then, to even go off on that, let's talk about our main character. Probably the greatest written character of all time. Not just in manga, not just as a main character, but everywhere. Gon is probably the best written character. I know people will argue that he's a little one-dimensional. Sometimes he can be a little flat. He's got his badass moments and stuff, but they're like, that doesn't really make a character. But let me ask you this. Let's go back to chapter 1. Gon's inspiration, his entire life goal, and his outlook on life is based on the fact that his daddy left, right? But some people will argue that that's not a good thing, especially right before Greed Island when he hears from the horse's mouth that, your dad was kind of a deadbeat. He's not that great. But I know that some of you, or at the very least, some of you know of people whose dads left. Whether they were a deadbeat, whether they were a user, whether they left before they were even born, or they left during their childhood and stuff, right? But they are definitely the most well-adjusted, And mentally stable people with zero childhood trauma, they're the ones who lead all of our countries, period. And there's no therapy, there's no coping mechanisms, no trauma, no justification, nothing involved. They're the most well-adjusted, well-rounded people you could possibly meet that require no outside help whatsoever. And Gon is the exact same way. You see, Gon did the exact same thing as all those people that we know whose daddies left. It just shaped his entire life outlook and life goal based on this premise. That his dad could not possibly be a piece of shit. He can't possibly be a deadbeat. He couldn't have left his family and his child behind unless what he was doing was so goddamn badass. And even when he heard it from the horse's mouth, when he heard it, it didn't affect him. He ignored that completely. Because to acknowledge it, he would have to, I don't know, deal with it. And let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. When our characters deal with something, see, this is what makes guys like Ichigo, Naruto, and Goku, and all these guys. This is what makes them just not on that Gon level. When they get the shocking, earth-shattering news that their whole life is maybe a joke, a lie, whatever. Gon just cool as a cucumber. Doesn't even acknowledge it happened. Because that's definitely extremely healthy. And here's the best part. Is it because when Ichigo's world was falling apart, what did he do? What did he do? He lashed out and his powers waned against Aizen. And later on in the Fullbring arc. And then later on in every arc Ichigo's in trauma zone. I don't need to see that. Don't deal with your issues, man. Luffy, when Ace died, come on, man. Why did you cry? That shouldn't have affected... He literally, his mind started to shine. It's like, Naruto, when our grand pervy sage... Another character I should have mentioned back in the Chainsaw Man part. The pervy sage dies. And it's like, come on, man. Why don't you... that shouldn't affect you whatsoever. Why would that affect you? Why would any of these big-time events in your life affect you at all? Because that's weak sauce. And I need a character who is going to be a piece of wood throughout the entire series. That's what I need. So yeah, Hunter x Hunter. The greatest manga of all time. And all these manga that I've mentioned here in this video are arguably should be on everybody's top 10 list. I could accept one or two of them maybe being in your top 15. But any of these mentioned that are outside of your top 15, I argue you haven't read enough. Or you're just not, once again, let's use the Rick and Morty argument, you just don't get it because you don't have the brain capacity to understand the great complex humor of it. Or the greatness, just period, of the storytelling, of the character development, of the plot, of the redraws. Because the redraws just make me want to read it again. It's a gift. So, what do you guys think? Let me know what you thought about my top 5 list. And going forward, are you guys excited for my top 30 list? When I'm finally done figuring out who goes below these giants. These Mount Rushmores +1. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And take care.